Hello, everybody, and welcome to our guest conversation. I'm so pleased to be joined today by Guy Bigwood, who is Chief Changemaker of the Global Destination Sustainability Movement. Welcome, Guy.
Good morning, Barbara. Good morning, everyone.
And we're going to have a conversation today about all things sustainability. Now, do you know what? I was thinking about this, and there are so many priorities on the lists of our association customers right now. They've been through COVID, they're worried about virtual, they're worried about member retention, they're worried about revenue streams. And in my mind, you know, there are so many reasons why traditionally sustainability has been pushed down the agenda. How can we shift the needle?
Good question. I think COVID has shown a couple of things, hasn't it? I think COVID has really made us focus on the importance of nature for respite, for us to hide and run away to recover from the stress of working from home or just dealing with all that crap of COVID. It's taught us the importance of nature as a barrier to zoonotic diseases such as COVID. And so I think, you know, what we're seeing from the data, from research done by Mori and Ipsos and people like that is, you know, 60–70% of the UK, a bit more in Europe, are now focused on, I think that climate change and sustainability is more important now than it was before COVID. So we've seen that in the last few years, the groundswell of the kids movements and Extinction Rebellion. It's there in society. It's the biggest shift that is happening, one of the biggest social shifts that is happening around the world ever, or probably for at least for hundreds of years. So it's happening, right? And so, you know, we are changing our habits, working from home. Many of us are eating better. Many of us are exercising more. Many of us thought about our homes and changed that. So there's a shift happening. And that shift is also a massive business opportunity. If you look at the stock market, you know, last year, the investment in sustainability stock doubled. Okay, it's massive now. And out of those companies that are sustainable, 90% of them perform better than non-sustainable businesses. So there's a business opportunity, whether you're working in dentistry and looking at how do you make your dentistry service more sustainable, or whether you're in food or engineering, building bricks or bridges or whatever. The whole mood is changing. So for associations, you know, you've got to adapt to what your clients are thinking. You've got to adapt and help either if you're a society, your individual members, or your businesses, if you're a trade association, look at the opportunities and grab them. You've got to be lobbying, you've got to be working with policy. There's so much work to do. And so I see that as a really big opportunity for associations right now to really step into that space. And that's just on the content side. I'm not even talking about the sustainable event side, which I'm sure we'll get to later.
Well, that's really good to know. And I do believe that there are indeed many ways in which PCOs can just help associations up onto that ladder. But having got them there, having got them to focus on sustainability, and having, you know, got them to buy into changing up their association congresses to becoming much more sustainable, you know, how do we actually get them to change some of the really bad habits? How do we change the shape of the event? You know, do we get rid of catering altogether? Is that a big barrier? You know, will that be socially acceptable? Will that change entirely the networking? Should we never visit a venue again? Should we stay online? How do you think we should deal with that?
Yeah, I think there's many elements of that, and again, COVID is a positive and a negative enabler of that. So I think first is for a PCO or for an end user association client, you have to now demand sustainability. The times for requesting it to your suppliers is no longer, I believe, gone. I think it's changed now. So if you're going to a hotel, you have to demand sustainability from that hotel, from a venue, forever. Of course, there's going to be some that are better than others. So I think, bringing into your supply chain management how you, first of all, ask, what are you going to do, Mr. Venue, to help me make my Congress more sustainable? And so we give preference to certified venues, for example. So I think bringing that into it as a first stop. If not, then having a process to analyze what that supplier is doing and how well it's doing. I think that's the first step. Yeah, so I don't think we can debate that anymore. And from there, it's then going down deeper and looking. I think these days we have to be more material. I think more really looking at the impacts. What are they? So we know carbon emissions is it's connected to flying, as everyone thinks about that. So to some degree, those emissions are going to be going down as people become more hybrid. But there's other areas, food waste is a massive thing. So we typically throw away 30% of food in a Congress. It's pretty disgusting, isn't it, right? So food emissions are actually 6% of global emissions, food waste emissions. That's double flying emissions. And we never beat up people for throwing away a plate of food, but we beat them up for jumping on a plane. So, I think there's that. And then starting to look at really, I think we really need to be thinking circular. There's a little image, and it's deliberately frozen behind me, about what we can learn from nature and the circularity of nature, and how in nature there's no waste. Just think of the tree behind me. When it dies, it crumbles down, becomes compost, that then feeds another plant that becomes a tree. So there's a circularity. So we really need to get much better in that, how we manage our food, how we manage our trade stands, our booths, our show, our stage sets, everything like that. How do we make stuff that is made from materials that either can be reused, recycled, is made from used, and ultimately can regenerate? So these are just a few areas.
And I think, that for me personally, there is no taking away the value of a face-to-face event, but we need to be much smarter about how we engage in a very sustainable way. And of course, as we consider the SDG goals, we're very keen to make sure that our content, our Association Congress content, is available to all. I mean, what are your thoughts on how we can do that well in the virtual space?
I think that's really key what you just said is, and I think COVID's great. It's going to provide that filter. The filters, do we need to travel, and is it worth it? So that's the most important thing. Yes, we know there's value, but we know there's a lot of events we went to, we could have participated hybrid and got more value out of it, perhaps, or the same. So I think there is a filter first. So we need to be thinking through that. And then the other thing I think most people have forgotten is there's actually a footprint to what we're doing now, to meeting online, and this mass meeting online thing that we've done this year has quadrupled the kind of emissions from servers. And from the IT industry. And I've got a big project with SAP at the moment, and we're looking actually at the online footprint of all of their meetings. And we're a bit blown away. It's actually a lot more than we actually thought. Considerably more than we actually thought. And so, we have to be conscious of that also.
So I suppose their lessons, their PCOs are, we have to be as sustainable thinking as we plan our virtual meetings as we do our face-to-face. And I know that, you know, if you want more information about that, reach out to Guy. He can help you with that. So Guy, you know, we haven't rehearsed this, and I just thought we might have a bit of fun and just do a bit of a quick fire Q&A session between us and see how that goes down. So number one, what's your number one goal in sustainability?
So my focus is working with destinations. So I want to make destinations fantastic places to visit, live in, and work in. And so that's my focus. So I work with CVBs and DMOs all around the world to help them become regenerative in the way they think about organising tourism and events.
Biggest challenge for the events industry?
I think the tendency right now to try and return back to normal, to the old normal, versus use this as a moment to really rethink and replan and reset the future.
Very good. Sustainability or regeneration, where do you sit?
Regeneration. Sustainability for me is about doing less bad. So it's like patches. We recycle a bit more, we do a little bit of organic food, we fly a little bit less. Regeneration is about systems, rethinking and rethinking how we do everything. And I think for the challenges we have on hand, social, environmental, economic, we need a very different thinking. And we have to realize that it's a big, complex system that we live in and we're connected to. And I think COVID has shown us that.
What's your best case study to date? What are you really proud of?
Events or destination wise?
Let's go destination.
I got lots actually. I'm very proud of, I guess, one of my first projects ever was doing a strategy for Gothenburg and trying to convince them that they could become a world leader, and they were a small second city in the north of Sweden, and no one believed that they could become a world leader, and now they are number one probably in the world for sustainable destinations and out there where they're thinking. And to have started that and to still be working with them 10 years later every year is fantastic. So that's one of my favorites.
And lots to find out about Gothenburg online. I think you don't need to go to know how great Gothenburg is. So go find out, people. Best book, what should we be reading?
Ooh. That's a good one, isn't it? There's two things I've just been reading. So I've just been reading a book by Laura Storm and Giles Hutchins called Regenerative Leadership. I teach regenerative leadership at Asani Business School, and I read that. It's given me a few ideas, and I really like their very holistic approach. And you know, to change the system, we have to change ourselves first. We have to change our business, and we have to change our community around us. So that was a very good book.
Okay, we'll put that on our list for Easter. Green rock star.
Oh, a green rock star. So it could be Elon Musk for his total disruptive thinking. Don't particularly like him as a person, but I love his attitude and his working. I think he's a rock star. So yeah.
Okay, well, we can beg to differ, but there you go. What do you think will be the number one change maker that will actually shift us from where we're now to zero?
In the industry you're talking about, yeah?
Well, I mean, I don't know whether you think that autonomous vehicles will do it, whether we'll just all give up flying around the world, whether there'll be a moment in time when planes are, I don't know, driven by hydrogen. What could be the biggest innovation that could make a big difference for us in our lifetimes? Certainly in yours, not necessarily mine.
I think the biggest innovation that has already happened is renewable energy technology. So
Mhm.
solar and wind, it is transforming the energy systems. It is breaking up energy companies. Look at the value of the petroleum companies and how that's crashed. So a massive transformation of society also, because those companies were so powerful, they ran governments. So that is transforming. So that's, I think, is happening now. And we see, you know, because I think it's really interesting. If you think of it, emissions, right? Emissions through COVID only dropped 7% globally, and none of us are flying.
Mm.
So 7% crash. So that shows that if we need to get to zero emissions, we need about 7% per year until 2050 or whatever. So there's a lot of innovation that needs to happen there to get this. And one of the big focuses on energy production, so that's renewables. I think a lot of more technology around buildings and reducing that. Food is a massive area where we need a lot more innovation. Will be a game changer, I think. There, aviation will become electric at some point. It's important for our sector, but globally it's what, 3%, 2.5%, depending on how you look at it today, and that will go up to 5% within the next. Well, it was due to go up to. Who knows what it's going to be now?
Which leads me to my last one. Do you think we'll actually get to carbon zero by, what is it, 2030, 2050, depending on where you are in the world?
Yeah, exactly. So it's 2050 globally, right? 2030, we need to have at least 60% reduction. Some countries, UK, for example, has much more aggressive targets. I think it's really exciting. Biden will launch their 2050 kind of roadmap. China's 2060. Japan's 2050. So, you know, massive changes is happening. It's always going to be a net benefit, you know, is this, we're going to make some emissions here and consume here. It's a big challenge. I think we will do it, but it's going to be bumpy.
Okay. Well, look, Guy, thank you so much. I think your thoughts there are going to be really helpful for PCOs, associations, as we plan the shape of our events going forward in whatever shape or form they are. But I think it has helped us hugely to focus our minds on what we can do to make our events more sustainable. And I thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.